Hey guys, this is the Saigami Project, and my name is Andrea Otilia Vörös, aka Sunny, creator of the manga series Saigami, published and serialized in Saturday AM, the bi-weekly digital manga anthology. My previous video was a speed drawing of Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece, and since it was just a quick drawing with music under it, I figured some of you might be interested in the actual drawing process. So I figured I'm gonna be doing a narrated version of the video to share, my work method, the materials I was using to create this piece of artwork. I would appreciate if you would let me know in the comment section if you would be interested in narrated versions like this, or you would enjoy the speed drawings with just music more. Because in the future I would like to create more speed drawings. And if you want to hear me speak of my work process, then I will do narrated versions as well. And obviously, I was going for Luffy's new style, even though, to be honest, I kind of liked his design more before the time skip. But yeah, since it's been a few years now, I figured it would be best for go for his recent look, and I wanted to do a sort of more actiony pose, so I chose to use his hockey arms only on one hand, and I wanted to play around with foreshortening. For some reason, I kind of have a habit to do my action poses with the left arm in the foreground. I actually just noticed this by drawing this piece of artwork, so I guess next time I will be more focused on doing something else because this seems to be my go-to pose, and I don't want my artworks to be boring. But yeah, first I was doing the sketch with very light lines, and as I had the pose set down, I went in with the details. Since I knew from the beginning that I'm gonna be working with watercolors, I didn't press the mechanical pencil on the paper too much because that can leave a trace on the paper, which can result in a sort of interesting looking watercolor effect, but I wasn't intending to use that, so I was just doing my sketches very light, or at least as light as I could go with this mechanical pencil. Of course, with this video too, I wanted to do Luffy in my style. Interestingly, when I was doing the face and the hair, I realized that yeah, Luffy in my style kinda is basically Natsu. It's just kind of funny and sad at the same time. I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of Hiro Mashima's art style, and I know very well that it left its trace on my art style too. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see. Of course, I knew that it will look very different since, Luffy will have darker hair and my style isn't copying Mashima's at all. It's just somewhat similar. But yeah, even on Instagram, I received comments like, "Oh, so this is Luffy's body with Natsu's head," and yeah, I'm not gonna be disagreeing with those because there are similarities. But the two characters are similar to begin with, and even Eiichiro Oda's and Mashima's art style are somewhat similar. So yeah, it seems like in my art style, they are becoming more and more similar even. Oh well, I'm gonna be working on that in the future. As you can see with my sketches, I didn't do all the precise details. At some places I left it kind of rough because I have confidence in my inking. So many times when I do my pages or my other artworks, I just leave some rough lines indicating, some clothing or a hand or arm, and I will fix that later with the inking when I will be obviously more precise with my line arts. For the inking, I used my G pen and my Maru pen for the thinner lines, and I was using the liter 4 black ink. Yeah, nib pens are my go-tos usually. But after I was done with the inking, I gave some more line weights. Sadly, I didn't capture that in a video because I just forgot to turn on the camera, so I'm very sorry about that. So what you can see in this video is basically the first part of the line art. Of course, since I was working with the G pen, I could add some line weight and various line widths um, in the first go, but I kind of like to play some more with the weight of my lines, especially when it comes to foreshortening. So I wanted to make sure that the arm, for example, in the foreground has way thicker lines than the arm in the background. Once I was done with my line art, I left the drawing for quite a few hours. Actually, it might have been almost like, 12 hours or even more. Um, Even though the ink is water resistant, if I'm not in any rush, I like to leave it rest before I go in with watercolor because that can ruin your raw work if the ink is not completely dried and you go over with water and you will smear it. So if you're not in a rush, I would recommend to be patient, especially since if you're working with watercolor, you will need patience as well. I mean, you will need to wait till your paint dries so you won't smear it all over your artwork. It's just like that. First, I was doing the skin color. For the skin color, I actually bought a new tube of skin color watercolor. It's a it's a Van Gogh type, so that's the only different one. For the rest of the artwork, I'm using my Shinhan watercolor set. It's a set of 18 colors, but now I have 19 colors because I purchased the skin color because I figured it's just easier to invest in a skin color than having to mix it all the time by using yellows, reds, browns, and etc. So yeah, I started with the skin color because that's my go-to method. I like to start with the skin color since in watercolor first you will basically do your highlights. I was adding the skin color in a very light shade with a lot of water, and as soon as my skin tone dried, I started to work on the hair. I know, Luffy's color of hair is black and not blue. I wanted to give the hair a sort of bluish rim light effect, and since the blue jeans Luffy is wearing was the only blue thing in the picture, I kind of wanted to balance that out with blue light on the hair. So basically, when I'm adding blue to the hair, I'm adding the highlight. I knew that later I will go over the hair with various layers of blacks, and it kind of looked weird, but yeah, you can just say it's you know Super Saiyan God Mode Luffy. Maybe I don't know. It would be kind of cool. I also was adding a layer of black to indicate the haki form of the arm. I kind of wanted to do a more gradient thing from the skin color to the black. Uh, it didn't turn out exactly how I planned, but then I looked at some reference pictures and I was like, okay, this can fly, so it wasn't anything to be upset about. And then I went over to the straw hat and the shirt with red, and this part was kind of frustrating because I was using red. The tube says red, but it's not exactly the type of red I was wanting to use. So yeah, I'm not sure how much it shows up on the camera, but I don't know, it felt more like a sort of pinkish color. It it just wasn't the right type of red for me. And it was even more frustrating because the walls in my room are red, and I could clearly see that nope, the tube of paint I'm using is so not red as my wall is, so it's yeah, oh well. Sometimes you have to work with what you have, I guess. And after the shirt, I was doing some more base color, adding the yellows to the hat and the oh, belt. Well, it's not really a belt, but oh well. And the pants, nothing too fancy, just base color with a lot of water to make it light. After my first layer of base colors have dried, I went over to the hair and started to add some black with a lot of water, so it was more like kind of a gray shade, I guess. Here I was using one of my thinnest brushes to make sure I won't go out of the lines because doing the spikes of the hair requires very fine tip of the brush, so I switched to my thinner brush here and try to add some more darker shades. I even spilled some paint all over the page. Luckily I could get rid of it, so it didn't leave a trace on the paper. Accident like this happened, I was just happy it didn't fall on the face or any place it could have left a dirty spot or something. I guess I was using too much water. And yeah, basically what I was doing in this phase was trying to indicate the strands of the hair. Still kind of like to experiment the way I'm doing spikes of the hair. It usually looks different with every artwork I do. But you know, it's still fun because different hairs will do like differently. I don't know, I like to have fun with it. Actually, this was probably the slowest part of the wall image because the brush I was working is super thin, so it didn't pick up too much paint and water. So basically I was just doing a single or maybe two strokes and it was done. I had to dip it once again, so it was super slow. But then again, if you're working with watercolor, you have to accept that it's not gonna be fast. It's one of the slowest mediums, depending on how you use it, of course. It's fine. I still enjoy a lot working with watercolor, so it's not like I was getting frustrated about how slow I am. It was still fun. I mean, I finished drawing around 3.5 hours, which is not bad if you consider, I did it from scratch, so maybe I can get faster in the future, but still, it was good. After the hair, I add a base grayish color to the eyes, and I went in with some shading to the arms with the haki. And I also added some shades to the eyes with a sort of light blue. At first, I added a bit too bluish colors to one of the eyes, so I had to remove a bit of that with a tissue. So all that's left is a very light shade of blue in the eyes. After that, I started to add some more shades to the clothing, starting with the straw hat. I mixed in some red and darker yellow colors. I didn't go too fancy mixing colors in these drawings. I basically was using mostly just base colors now that I think about it. Some artists like to mix all sorts of colors in their artworks, like, doing the shades in blues and all sorts of colors you wouldn't expect to see in the artwork, and it looks really cool. I would say I'm not that bold yet. I guess adding red shading to the hat was the right call. I mean, the shirt around it is red, so I basically was working with the rim light shading on the hat. I also added some more shading to the shirt, trying to indicate the folds. I still wasn't happy with my red color. It kind of makes shading harder, but I tried to work my best with it. Mostly what I could do was leave the upper parts of the shirt and the shoulders and the arms lighter. My light source is coming from above, from the upper right corner of the page to begin with. So I figured at this point that it's still fine if I leave the shirt and the arms a bit more pinkish, since that's where the light source is. And yeah, then I continued to shade the rest of the clothing. This is not the most exciting part, I guess. Although I kind of enjoy it because it's not just flat colors anymore. It starts to become a bit more 3D and starts to feel a bit more finished at this point. After the clothing, I went back to the face. Usually the face and the hair are the parts that require the more detail work, or at least I like to spend more time on them. So I was adding another layer of shading to the face. This time I was using a darker shade of the skin color. I mixed in a little bit of purple, not too much, basically just a dab of purple. And then I started to do the shady hair cast on the face. Here I went in with some more purple. I tried to add some more bluish shade that I figured it doesn't look the way I like to do it. So I went over with skin color and a bit more purple. So I just stick to this purplish sort of magenta color like shading with the hair and skip the blue one. I wanted to add some more darker shades to the right side of the face, right, left. Well, yeah. um, but I soon realized that the paper is starting to feel a bit muddy. So I figured I'm gonna be finishing up the shading with colored pencils. So first I wanted to let the page, the paper dry. I still went in a bit more with the water brush to make things a bit more even. For me, this is always an interesting part because you basically can go in with shades, various layers, like non-stop as long as your paper can handle it. And I don't know, it's for me it's always interesting where to stop. I mean, I I basically could go on and go on, maybe even attempt a sort of photorealism with all the shading and lights. Of course, it was not my intention at all here, as you can see. But yeah, it's kind of hard to stop when you're going with the details. Probably that's why it's better when you can tell that, okay, my paper is starting to feel muddy and maybe I should be stopping with all those layers of water and paints. And yeah, I guess it's hard to stop. And again, you also have to realize that sometimes the less is more. So it's good to be aware. This time I mixed a new shading color using more purples and magenta and red. I added some casted the shade of the hat, indicated some more of the foldings of the shirts. At this point, the shirt didn't even look red at all, so yeah. I guess that's how it is. Next up, I started to work on the straw hat. That actually was a part I enjoyed a lot. Doing the finer details, or maybe more like indicating the finer details of the straw hat. It was kind of fun. And after that, once again, I went back to the hair. This was also one slow process. This time I was working with very dark lines. I was basically just using black with not too much water to make dark lines on the hair, indicating some of the finer strands of hairs. At this point, I basically covered up almost all of the original blue layers of the hair. You can only see a very few of it stand out, but that was my original plan, to have a blue layer be my highlight on the hair. So yeah, that was pretty fun, especially since with watercolor you can leave out white parts where basically the white of the paper will be your highlight. I don't really like to work with that method. Of course, I left out white for the eyes and for the teeth, but I don't really like to use that sort of highlight in the hair. And after everything had dried, I went over the drawing with color pencils, my Prismacolor Premium, I can't remember, I always make this up. Oh well, so the Prismacolor colored pencils, I used some peach colors, darker peach, magenta and purple for the shading. I was basically just touching up the shading all over the face. Sometimes I added some darker tones. And lastly, I wanted to add a background to the image. I went with blue base color. Here I was using a flat brush to cover up areas quicker. I could have used a bigger flat brush, but this is the biggest brush I have at the moment, so oh well, it was fine. I decided to leave the area around the drawing white to make it, make the artwork pop out a little bit more. And of course, I didn't want it any accidents to happen. So this was a stylish but safety choice. After my blue background has dried, I figured I'm gonna be doing some coolish manga effect. So I got a thumbtack, attached it to the drawing with masking tape, which I knew won't be tearing up the page. That created my focus line, and I started to do focus lines with color pencils. I was using a dark blue and a white. Originally, I only wanted to do the white focus lines, but since the background wasn't too dark for them to pop out so much, I figured I can create some contrast with the focus lines, so I was adding those dark blue focus lines. And it was a good decision because it made the white lines pop out a bit more. I always enjoy drawing focus lines. This was the first time I did them with color pencils. It was good. I only broke the pencil once. Yep. But yeah, not a bad rate, I guess. I wasn't crying too much, just once. Yeah, that was fine. But yeah, in the end, the drawing looked, yeah, it was good with the focus lines. On the last phase, I didn't record because, yeah, I kind of forgot it once again. And yeah, I went over with some white gouache and spilled some white gouache over the artwork, creating those white spots all over the artwork. Obviously, I was covering up most of Luffy's face and body. I didn't do it with the hair to have some more, you know, kind of highlightish effects. I don't know. I just like this glittered spotty thingies on artworks. I even do it with my manga pages, so yeah. And yeah, this is pretty much all of my process. Obviously, after this, I scanned the artwork, touched up the colors on the computer a bit more because, usually when you're scanning a watercolor artwork, it won't exactly look the same as you want to look it. So some editing at the computer is almost all of the times is needed. Yep, this was how I made this artwork of Luffy. I'm not sure how you enjoy this narration one. I won't say it's a tutorial. If you're interested, I do have a tutorial on watercolor. You can find it among my videos. Maybe, yeah, I think I'm gonna be leaving that video in the end screen to make things easier. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, this was my creation process. I enjoyed this artwork a lot. I'm a big One Piece fan to begin with. I'm not enjoying it as much lately, but yeah, I used to be a big One Piece fan girl. I even cosplayed it a couple of times. Yeah, fun old times. It was fun. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and watch it till the end. This is pretty much the end of the video, so if you are here listening to me, you already did, which I'm super grateful for because, you know, that's always good to know that there are people sticking to the end of the video, and I like you guys a lot. Thank you very much for supporting me. Subscribe to the video, not to the video, to the channel. Yeah, to the channel, because the channel has videos. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to join the notification squad. And also don't forget that I have my own manga series called Saigami, which is published and serialized in Saturday AM. The first two chapters are up online for free at Saturday AM homepage. The first volume is already available worldwide, and the second volume is coming out very, 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 very soon. And yeah, you can also check out Saturday AM. It's a bi-weekly magazine. We are basically like the Shonen Jump of the West, but with more diverse creators and characters from all around the world, including series like Apple Black, Bully Eater, Clock Striker, Paradise Down, and many, many, many more. Seriously, we have a lot of series and they are really good. And we also have a new magazine coming out called Saturday PM, which will be a more mature version of Saturday AM, including basically more mature and uncensored series. For example, White Manga will be having a new mature series there as well. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty exciting too. And yeah, also if you like this artwork of Luffy, I have prints of it in my store and store, and also if you would be interested, you can get the original artwork as well. If you want to have an original piece of artwork from me, and that will be a huge support as well. But also in my store, I do have some fan artsy stuff, pins and stickers. The collection is growing because I try to make new products every week. So yeah. And of course, I'm present on social media, Facebook, Instagram. You can find all of the links in the video descriptions, including Saturday AM store, social media, you name it, everything. So yeah, that's pretty much for this video, and I will be back with my next video in a few days. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.